Hey. Hi, Sheena. Well, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Uh, so the topic we're going to be discussing today is dyslexia. It's such a, I think, important subject to talk about
Hmm.
because definitely, I think throughout the years, a lot more people have been diagnosed with dyslexia. I'm also dyslexic as well. I got diagnosed 4 years ago when I was at university
Okay.
because I've always been fine like writing and reading, etc. So I was quite surprised. But what I started noticing was spelling mistakes, etc.
Yeah.
So that's why then I put in a diagnosis, and yeah, it came back. I had dyslexic, more in the attribute of like spelling and kind of like names as well. I struggle with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we'll be coming on a little bit later on. But firstly, can you just introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. My name's Shayna. 25 years old. I'm currently studying in uni. I know I obviously decided to study later on in life, but I think obviously my dyslexia did have an impact on that.
Mm.
Coming to uni later on in life. Um, but yeah, that's just basic information about me, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's good because just for people who are watching, is Shane and I are actually very good friends, and we've spoken about this topic on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm very pleased you've come on today and we can speak about this in depth. But firstly, when did you first learn that you was dyslexic?
So I first had my diagnosis when I was around 8 or 9 years old. I was in primary school, so I think year five. I had my diagnosis. Yeah, that's the earliest I can remember. Yeah.
And when you was diagnosed, was your parents and family like quite surprised or was you surprised? I know you're younger, but if you can remember.
Um, no, so my family are not so much your typical family when it comes to education. Obviously they wanted me to do well in school, um but they're not the type of family who were like they were disappointed by a label or a diagnosis. It didn't really bother them or have any effect on them as such.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Because I think sometimes as well, like my family, apart from my uncle and my brother who's in university,
Mm.
and there's nothing wrong with that, but like most of my family, um, they work like plumbers, etc., managers, like supermarkets, so they never really understood like what dyslexia was.
Mm.
So for people watching, how would you define dyslexia?
um it's just your brain processes reading and written language in a different way to your obviously your average person who doesn't have dyslexia. Um, whether that's some people only struggle with the reading, some people only struggle with the writing. But yeah, it's just a different way of your brain processing that information.
Yeah, most definitely. And like just elaborate on that as well. Like I've done a lot more reading as well with it, and I'm sure you have as well. Like, but it's all with like memory as well, like not remembering like names. And
Yeah.
like even some of that, when I've spoken to other people who've been diagnosed with dyslexia, it's kind of like how they pronounce certain vocabulary. They struggle.
Hmm.
Have you ever experienced that?
I have, but I'm also someone who's got multiple diagnoses.
Okay.
So I'm also diagnosed with ADHD, which
Okay.
has severe impact on your memory, more than dyslexia. So my memory is affected mostly from my ADHD and not my dyslexia. But I do struggle with the pronunciation of certain things.
Yeah.
Um, Names, yes, but not so much. I don't find your common English names an issue. It's more foreign names for me. Where whether that just where they have like certain abbreviations or certain symbols in the name, that's when I get confused.
Yeah. Definitely. And so many people do as well. Um, are there any other challenges that you experience because of dyslexia?
Um, yeah, so obviously when I was first diagnosed, I was a lot younger. Um, so I noticed quite a lot that my ability in doing my work was a lot slower than the rest of my peers. As where they were finishing within 30 minutes, depending on the task, I was finishing within an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I was a lot behind than the rest of my peers, which obviously then had an effect on my confidence as well.
Yeah, and that is such a shame about dyslexia because we will come on a bit later on, but I find being dyslexic also gives you unique gifts that many
Okay.
people don't have as well. But it's such a shame because it does sometimes have that knock-on effect where some of the challenges you experience actually make you maybe feel less confident, as you just like mentioned.
Yeah.
Like I've certainly been there myself. Like especially when I was at school when I was undiagnosed, I was like struggling with like reading. I was thinking, oh goodness, I feel a bit less confident now actually going into the next class. And I've
Yeah.
spoken about this with numerous people as well, and also amongst our friends and family. So very interesting. Now, you mentioned other challenges. What tools or what mechanisms do you implement then to support you with dyslexia?
Um, so when I was first diagnosed and then when I was growing up, um, there wasn't really anything that I specifically used. I don't know whether that's because I was really young at the time. And for me, at that age in my life, trying to accommodate for my dyslexia wasn't a massive thing for me. Or whether teachers and support workers didn't bring it to my attention. I'm not too sure. So I didn't really use anything on the early stages of my life. But now, as I've grown up and I'm in uni, I've got a lot of support. I use a lot of, I've been granted a lot of software.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like speech to text software. I also use Grammarly, Scholarly. I've got Speechify. So there's a lot of tools now that I use in my life, and that I've now, come to uni. I need to address obviously my issue um, with my dyslexia. So it's become more of an important thing for me to address, especially to do with my assignment. So I've looked into it more, and obviously uni have given me that more support as my life have gone on, really.
Yeah, and it's such a positive like stepping stone, I think, with dyslexia is all these softwares because the technology advancement, they
Yeah.
like you mentioned just three or four, and there's so many other softwares as well to help people with dyslexia. I think it's definitely effective tool. And especially you
Mm.
mentioned about Grammarly, like a part of dyslexia is struggle with grammar, punctuation, spelling, whereas
Yeah.
you've got Grammarly there to support you, but also you're learning as well. Like
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I've spoken with a colleague of mine, I'm not gonna name who, but when she was using Grammarly, she was like, "Oh, now I actually understand like why a comma usually goes there because I can see the common pattern."
Hmm.
So I think that's definitely an advantage. But also like I've spoken to some people previously and reading as well. They struggle with reading, but like
Hmm.
Kindles, you can just listen to audio and you can
Oh dear.
look at like what's actually been said and like okay, now I know that's the vocab.
Yeah, yeah,
And be like that's definitely
yeah.
improved. So, do you think dyslexia has given you any unique strengths?
Um, in my personal opinion, no.
Mm,
Um, Obviously, with my multi-diagnoses, there's other things in my life that are more predominantly stronger that's given me other stuff. But being dyslexic, I don't think it's given me anything specific in that area. No.
yeah, and I think like with me as well, I don't think it's given me any strengths. It's definitely made me more confident and made me more curious on learning.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely remember reading this one book on dyslexia. I can't remember the author name, shock, dyslexia. But I remember him saying that usually people who are dyslexic are a lot more creative in thinking, that they think
Okay.
outside the box more.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, his study was limited then with the amount of participants who were dyslexic compared to non-dyslexic individuals, but it definitely like, just shows that there shouldn't be like misconception, like people with dyslexia are just idiots, for instance, like the words I've used, or delinquents, or
Yeah.
low level in the education system.
Yeah. I'd
Was
say
that?
like the only thing that is actually given me is just acceptance.
Yeah,
Acceptance is fine. Acceptance that, it's fine to not know where a full stop goes, a comma goes. And you just kind of you've just accepted it over the years, like, and that is absolutely fine. You're not going to fail in life just because you don't know where something goes or something, or you don't know how something is spelt or pronounced. So for me, it probably the only thing it would have given me is just acceptance.
yeah, that's lovely. Thanks for sharing that as well. I know it can be a bit personal sometimes.
That's all
So,
right.
what are the biggest misconceptions that people have about others who are dyslexic or are
Um,
dyslexic?
Probably like I would assume like they're not intelligent,
Mm,
they're lazy people. But I think the main one is because society has given this diagnosis a label.
yeah,
Um, People assume everyone experiences the same experience. So because it is one label and thousands or millions of people fall under that branch, they just assume everyone's experiencing the same thing. As where obviously we know from having it and studying it, that is absolutely not the case.
yeah, and like I appreciate as well mention that as well, like label being stigmatized. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely that stigmatized of people with dyslexic, who are dyslexic, that they are unable to read or spell or maybe perform well in education. Whereas you and I know, and there's so many celebrities as well who is dyslexic and who've
Yeah.
done actually exceptionally well.
Yeah, of course.
But do you feel like if you are dyslexic though, you should have an open mind to it and just accept that you are dyslexic, but you should just try your best with everything? Would you say that's the appropriate
Yeah, yeah,
response?
yeah, definitely. Like, obviously, when I was younger, being a child, your brain's not even developed to like look into things like that. Maybe some people have, maybe I don't know, but for me it wasn't. But obviously, yeah, as I've got older, you just accept it, and it's not a massive thing really.
No, I agree. So, what advice would you give someone who has been recently diagnosed with dyslexia?
Um, Honestly, no, don't stress. A label from someone who comes from having multiple labels, more than just dyslexia, more than just ADHD. There is multiple labels out there that I've been given. It definitely doesn't define who you are. It just, for me, a label only gives you the knowledge and the tools to improve your quality of life.
Yeah,
That is it.
that's such a lovely summary as well to end off this interview today. Well, thanks Shane as well coming on and sharing this with you. And like I know myself and I know many of us as well all relate to this as well. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
of
Thank you very
course.
much.
Thank you for having me.
That's okay.